This story is about a haunted girl whose spirit lives in a room of a hotel. Anyone who enters this room is killed by the girl's ghost. She has taken the lives of many people in this way. She believed she was betrayed, and now she was taking revenge on everyone. But the truth was something else. What was that truth? To know the real story of the ghostly girl, let's dive into the narrative, which begins with showing a hotel named Amber Hotel. On this day, it was the first day of work for a new lady worker who had come to start her job. Upon entering the hotel, she meets the owner, Sukni, who instructs the worker to clean the second floor. She repeatedly warns her not to go to the third floor because there is ongoing renovation work there, and it's dangerous. The worker is told to stay away from the area. However, while cleaning the second floor, the lady worker hears someone crying from the third floor. Despite the warning, she goes up to the third floor. She opens a corridor door and follows the sound until she reaches a room that is different from the others. It doesn't have a hotel number on it. The crying is coming from this room. Out of curiosity, the lady worker opens the door and finds a woman sitting inside. Completely white, her skin, her hair, everything is white. As soon as the woman sees the lady worker, she stops crying and says one line 3 nights in midnight. This line was dangerous for the worker, and out of fear, she quickly leaves the room. What does 3 nights in midnight mean? We'll find out later. 3 days later, the lady worker tells her daughter that ever since she saw the white-skinned girl, strange things have been happening. For example, their neighbor stabbed himself with a screwdriver. Her aunt took her own life, and their cat died without any reason. She feels something strange is going on. After hearing all this, her daughter tells her mom it's all in your head. The neighbor has always been mentally unstable, so it's no surprise he hurt himself. As for your aunt, she had been in a mental hospital for a long time, so it's no shock she took her own life, and our cat was old, so it was bound to die. Even after hearing this, the lady worker feels unsettled. That night, she prays before going to bed, but as she does so, the same white-skinned girl emerges from the mirror and moves towards her. The ghost tries to scare her, but the worker can't see her. When the clock strikes midnight, the white-skinned girl enters her room and, in a brutal act, skins the lady worker alive, killing her ruthlessly. Hearing her mother's screams, the daughter rushes into the room and is horrified to see her mother's condition. She breaks down crying, and the scene ends. 3 days later, we see 2 sisters. The older sister, Raina, is on her way to live with her grandparents after the death of her father. Their grandparents own Amber Hotel, which was the last remaining memory of their father. Raina and her younger sister move in with their grandparents, and Sukneet, their grandmother, welcomes them warmly. Sukneet gives Raina some of her father's belongings and tells her that she will now have to manage the hotel. Raina agrees, as she now has the responsibility of taking care of her younger sister, including her school expenses. Sukneet tells them both that they can roam freely around the hotel, except for the third floor, where renovation work is ongoing. Raina enrolls her sister in a local school, and while leaving the school, she runs into an old friend who used to like her. This friend, who is now a reporter, tells Raina to be careful. He's investigating the murder of a woman, and it turns out that this woman was the same lady worker from the beginning of the story. The reporter shares that he is gathering evidence and that the woman used to work at the Amber Hotel. Hearing this shocks Raina, as it's the hotel where she now lives. Her grandmother, Sukneet, had kept this information from them. The reporter then decides to stay at the hotel to continue his investigation. Raina confronts her grandparents about why they didn't tell her, to which Sukneet responds, "We didn't tell you because you were still mourning your father's death, and we didn't want to burden you with more sadness." That night, Raina's younger sister prays and tells Raina to have faith in God. As Raina stands outside her room, she notices a light coming from a room on the 3rd floor, where no one is supposed to be. Curious, she decides to investigate who is there and why the light is on. Just like Sukneet had mentioned about the lady worker, Raina too tried to open the door in the corridor, but when she realized it was locked, she broke in. She heard the sound of a girl crying from the room ahead. As soon as she opened the door, she saw a white girl sitting there. The girl looked at Raina and said, 3 nights in midnight. Raina didn't react and quietly left, thinking that the girl might be a guest at the hotel. However, she kept thinking about that phrase throughout the night. The next day, when Raina dropped her sister off at school, she noticed the number 1 written on her car, meaning it was the first day. But then, the mark disappeared. This troubled Raina, so she decided to talk to Sukneet. Raina asked her about the meaning of 3 nights in midnight. Sukneet explained, "Last night, I saw a light from one of the rooms on the 3rd floor. When I went there, I heard a girl crying. I went to check on the guest, but..." Raina wondered why Sukneet had said that the 3rd floor was under renovation if someone was living there. Sukneet, on hearing Raina's story, got visibly worried. It was clear that she knew the dark secret of the 3rd floor, and had always warned everyone to stay away from it. Now, since Raina had been there, Sukhnit was scared and unsure of what to say. Later, Raina's sister was dropped at school, and after that, Sukhnit's husband came to her, informing her that the police were coming to the hotel because the daughter of the lady worker had reported everything that had happened. The police wanted to investigate. Hearing this, Sukhnit became sad and said, "It's too late now." Raina has already gone to the 3rd floor and opened that room. Her husband was equally scared, wondering what to do next. News of the lady worker's death had spread, and the police had arrived to investigate. As the guests learned of this, they began leaving the hotel. A reporter was also present, investigating the entire situation. Raina came back, and suddenly the phone rang. Raina picked it up and was instructed to deliver a towel to that same room. When she entered, the room was empty, but she heard crying from the bathroom. When she checked, no one was there. Then, the phone in the room rang again. This time, a voice on the other end said, "If she's not in the bathroom or the room, then think about where she could be hiding." Raina was terrified and quickly called the reception to ask who was staying in that room. She was told that the room was vacant. She then saw the same girl moving behind the curtains and quickly slipping under the carpet, crawling toward Raina. This girl had white hair, red eyes, and a very haunting look. Raina was petrified and ran out of the room. The reporter, who had arrived by then, consoled her as Raina explained everything that had just happened. When the reporter checked the room, everything seemed normal, as if nothing had happened. After hearing Raina's story, the hotel staff quit their jobs and left. Sukhnit and her husband, now with no choice, revealed the truth to Raina and the reporter. They explained, "6 years ago, when we were in financial trouble, your father, our son, told us that he had bought this hotel. We moved here to manage it and make a living, but when we first arrived, the hotel was in terrible condition. We renovated it, and during the renovation, a worker heard crying from the same room with no number on the door. When he checked, he too encountered the white girl, who said 3 nights and midnight for the next 2 or 3 days. Strange things happened to him, and on the 3rd night at midnight he died. After the worker's death, we called a shaman, but even he was too afraid to enter the room. The shaman advised us to keep the room sealed to prevent anyone from encountering the ghost. The girl had taken possession of the room because it had always been hers, and it was impossible to remove her spirit. That's why we kept the 3rd floor off limits. But once the lady worker opened the door, everything started happening again." Hearing all this, Raina and the reporter were very disturbed. But Raina wasn't just worried about herself, she was now concerned for her sister. She said, "We have to make sure my sister doesn't go into that room. We can't let her near it." At school, Raina's sister was shown in the lab, where she began hearing strange noises. The statue in the room came to life and started moving toward her, holding a pair of scissors. The statue kept saying, "When you die, you will feel the same pain the white girl felt." Terrified, Raina's sister ran out screaming, attracting the attention of others. When she explained to the teacher what had happened, the teacher checked the lab but found everything in place and normal. Later, when Raina's sister returned home, Raina immediately asked her if she had gone to the 3rd floor room. Her sister said, "Yes, I heard someone crying from that room, so I went to check. I saw the white girl, and she said to me 3 nights and midnight, which means that now both sisters." The main characters have only 3 days left. So Raina and the reporter head to Shaman, the person who sealed the 3rd floor, to find out more about the mysterious white girl. Shaman explains that the girl has hidden something that prevents her from crossing into the afterlife, leaving her trapped in this world even after death. He adds that if they want to uncover the truth, they need to learn the girl's name, as it's the only way to communicate with her spirit. Raina and the reporter, along with the others, start brainstorming to figure out the girl's name. Suddenly, Raina recalls her father's words, "I have kept all the secrets in my heart, which I write in my novels." Raina believes that her father might have written something about the girl or the hotel's mystery, so she gives everyone his novels to read. Unfortunately, they don't find anything significant, which leaves Raina disappointed. She then decides to investigate the room herself, convinced that there must be something hidden inside. As Raina approaches the room, the reporter and his sister stop her, fearing for her safety. But Raina explains that if they don't take action, they're doomed to die at midnight on the 3rd night anyway. She suggests that if they try, they might have a chance of surviving. With that, Raina and her sister enter the room, while the reporter stays outside since the curse of 3 nights and midnight hasn't affected him yet. Inside the room, Raina and her sister split up to search for clues. Raina's sister heads to the bathroom, where she sees the ghost of a boy who tries to scare her. Meanwhile, Raina finds a piece of paper under the bed with the letter A on it. She keeps it and goes to show her sister, only to discover that her sister has been possessed by the girl's spirit. Raina tries to snap her sister out of it, but the sister's face becomes distorted, and she attacks Raina, smashing her head against the wall and climbing up it in a terrifying manner. Hearing the commotion, the reporter rushes in and manages to pull the possessed sister away from the dangerous position. Although he gets injured, he helps Raina's sister return to normal. However, just then, they see the ghost of the white girl standing in front of them, repeating the phrase 3 nights and midnight. This means the curse has now affected the reporter since he entered the room. The three of them flee the room just as the clock strikes midnight. Raina and her sister begin their second day, while the reporter's first day of the curse has just started. Frustrated and scared, the group is unsure how to escape their fates. Raina tells the reporter that she believes the room once belonged to the girl, and that her father might have known her. She shows the reporter and her grandparents the piece of paper she found, prompting them to bring out similar pieces they had found under the beds in other rooms. When they piece them together, they form a letter with the name Jasmine, which they deduce must be the name of the white girl. The letter reveals that Jasmine had met Raina's father near the pine trees in the forest, and they had spent happy times together there. Jasmine wished to stay with him forever by those trees. From this, the group concludes that they need to go to the forest to find more clues. Raina and the reporter set off to the pine forest, where they quickly find the spot marked by many white flowers. This is the place where Raina's father and Jasmine used to meet. Following the directions in the letter, they head north and reach a river, where they encounter a boatman. They ask him where the white flowers originate, and the boatman tells them that the flowers grow in his village, which is known as White Flower Village. This excites Raina and the reporter as they feel they are getting closer to the truth. They ask the boatman to take them to the village head, hoping to learn more. The boatman agrees and brings them to the village head's house. When Raina and the reporter explain the deaths happening in the hotel and describe Jasmine as a white-skinned girl with red eyes, the village head becomes visibly frightened and refuses to talk, claiming he knows nothing. With rain pouring outside, Raina and the reporter cannot cross the river, so the boatman offers them shelter for the night. Raina grows disheartened as they have only one day left to solve the mystery. She confides in the reporter, sharing her frustration that despite praying for her parents when her mother fell ill and her father had cancer, God didn't answer her prayers, and she lost them both. Now, she fears that she and her sister will die too. The reporter tries to console her, explaining that sometimes bad things happen to prepare us for tougher challenges ahead. He encourages her to keep faith and believe in God. Just then, they hear the sounds of the village head and his wife arguing, making the reporter suspect that the wife might know something important. They are hiding something because earlier when they were talking, they had seen the head's wife secretly listening to their conversation. So quietly, they enter the head's house and spot a painting of the white girl, Jasmine. The head's wife then reveals that the girl is actually their daughter. Now they ask the boatman and the head's wife to tell them everything. The boatman explains that the real name of the white girl is Manor, and she was born at midnight in the head's house. However, she had a disease that made her entire body white, including her hair and skin. This is why she was named after the white flowers, which were the origin of the village's name. Because of Manor's unusual appearance, people often tormented her, children bullied her, and many even called her a devil, saying she wasn't human but rather something evil. Her father would often beat her and lock her up in a room because her presence brought shame to the family within the village. As a result, Manor became lonely. She used to create games in her mind, playing alone and dancing by herself. But when she turned 20, she ran away from home and no one knew where she had gone. After learning the truth, Raina and the reporter returned to the hotel. Since they now knew Manor's real name, they called the shaman to the hotel. Through Manor's name, the shaman communicates with her spirit and explains that when Manor ran away from home, she went to the forest near the pine trees. That was where she first met Raina's father. Raina's father not only saved her life but also helped her by giving her a room to stay in his hotel. He even gave all of his mother's jewelry to Manor because Raina's father had no memories of his parents besides that. Now, since he considered Manor to be the closest person to him, he gave her everything, making Manor feel good for the first time, as someone had come so close to her without judging her appearance. They both began to live in the same hotel, and before long, they fell in love. Raina's father never made her feel different from others, which made her forget that she was different. However, Raina's father went to Jakarta for business, and Manor waited for him to return. While waiting, she created a letter puzzle game for him, breaking the letter into many pieces and placing them under the beds in each room. Days passed, but Raina's father did not return. So Manor started looking for him herself. When she went out, she saw Raina's father with someone else he was engaged, and that girl was going to be the mother of his child. Manor understood that Raina's father had betrayed her, and her heart broke. Returning to the hotel, she used a blade to remove all the skin from her body because Raina's father made her feel that she was indeed different, that she was not worthy of anyone, and that no one could accept her because of her appearance. She kept separating her skin from her body for 3 days, and on the third night, in excruciating pain, she died. Hearing this, Raina and the reporter felt deep sorrow and fear and they asked Shaman how they could fix everything. Shaman told them they needed to mend Manor's broken heart, which meant finding Manor's body no matter what and connecting it to something that could give it life so that Manor could forgive them. When they asked Shaman how they would do this, suddenly Manor's spirit attacked Shaman, grabbing his neck and brutally separating his head from his body, killing him in a horrifying scene. Raina and the reporter were terrified by Manor's true form. Raina was very tense because they had very little time left to set things right. Just then, Raina's sister noticed something under the bed, where their father's belongings were, which included a book titled White. As Jasmine, this revealed that Raina's father had written about Manor in this book. As they read it, they discovered that Raina's father did not go to Jakarta for a meeting, but rather to propose to Manor, having a ring made from the same white flowers to surprise her when he returned. However, while leaving the shop with the ring, he was in an accident with a car, which caused a deep head injury, resulting in memory loss. The car that hit him belonged to Sukni, and Raina's father was not actually Sukni's biological son. They had adopted him and given him a new identity. Eventually, Raina's father remembered why he had come there, so he rushed back to the hotel because he loved Manor very much. But by then, Manor's body had decayed badly. Seeing this, Raina's father was devastated, constantly thinking about how he should have told Manor everything that day, how much he loved her, and how he was going to surprise her. If he had done so, they would not have been in this situation, and they would have been together, married. But since Manor had died and was gone, Raina's father buried her body in a tunnel in the hotel basement so that she could rest in peace. Above her grave, he painted a picture of the ring he had made for her, hoping that Manor's spirit would find peace and that her grave would always be a place of beautiful memories for him. After this, Raina's father left the hotel forever because he could not bear to live with the sadness. Seeing all this, Raina and her sister understood that their father had never betrayed Manor. He truly loved her, but Manor died before knowing the truth, so they needed to tell Manor everything. They recalled Shaman's advice about connecting Manor's body to something that could give it life, and now that living thing was the ring, which they could place on Manor's body to mend her broken heart and show her how much Raina's father loved her and that he never betrayed her. Thus, Raina and the reporter made their way to the hotel's basement, fully prepared to search for Manor's grave in the tunnel. As they searched separately, Manor's spirit appeared, determined not to let them complete their task easily. To waste their time, she possessed the reporter, leading Raina astray. However, Raina quickly realized the reporter was possessed and attacked him, injuring him so that even if Manor possessed him, she would not be able to get close to him. Once again, Raina resumed her search for the grave, feeling distressed as time was running out. Soon it would be midnight. Just then, she found a letter from her grandparents in her bag, stating that if she couldn't find a way, she should pray to God for guidance, believing that he would help. So Raina began to pray, crying and reciting her heartfelt prayers. Meanwhile, her sister also prayed alongside their grandparents, knowing that only God could save them. Miraculously, after walking a little distance, Raina found the grave, and she started digging. Shortly, she uncovered Manor's skeletal remains. Before that, Raina slipped the ring onto Manor's hand. The possessed reporter attacked Raina, but she fought back, risking her life to place the ring on Manor's hand, thus connecting her body with the element of life. With that, Manor's spirit and her body were united. Truth had come to light. Her soul found peace, and she moved on. Shortly after, Raina and the reporter emerged from the tunnel, where everyone began to weep together. They felt they had finally set everything right. Raina and the reporter informed the police about everything that had happened to them. The reporter approached Raina and told her that he still loved her and wanted to be with her. He proposed marriage, and Raina accepted, saying yes. The reporter was still at the hotel, speaking to Raina on the phone about their wedding discussions for the next day. As he ended the call, we see once again the Manor spirit emerge from the mirror. It was midnight, meaning the reporter's 3 nights were complete. It was the witching hour, and the Manor cruelly peeled off his skin, taking his life mercilessly. The next day, when Diana came to wake him up, she was horrified to see the reporter's condition. She was heartbroken and began to cry, troubled by the thought that they had fixed everything and the Manor was gone. But that was far from the truth. The police and an ambulance arrived to take the reporter's body away, which Raina and her sister witnessed from the rooftop. Raina asked her sister why, if the Manor wanted to kill the reporter, it hadn't killed them and left them alive. Although she knew everything now, why was the Manor still here? Raina's sister replied that while they had mended the Manor's heart, it hadn't forgotten how others had treated it. It still held resentment for the pain caused by those who loved her, especially their father, while everyone else hated her. Until it avenged itself, it would never leave. Perhaps it couldn't leave, as it had taken its life in that room, and there was no place for those who did such things in the next world. Their souls never find peace and remain trapped in this world, just like the manor. Hearing her sister's words left Raina astonished. She wondered how her sister knew all this. Just then, Raina's sister looked at her eyes glowing red, indicating the manor had possessed her. The manor was speaking through her, saying that their father had truly loved her and that she wouldn't harm them because they were his daughters. After that, Raina and her sister left the hotel with their grandparents, never to return. The police sealed the hotel due to the numerous deaths that had occurred there. 2 officers came to check the 3rd floor, entering the manor's room, where she sat. Upon seeing them, she declared, 3 nights and midnight, the same line associated with death. This cycle was about to begin again in the hotel. The manor was destined to remain in that hotel room forever, killing anyone who entered. This situation was extremely dangerous. With this horrifying ending, the story concludes here.